in the good morning. Give me a second here. Let me get you some music, my coffee, and then you guys 30 instead of 8:15. All right, I'll be right back. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late, guys. Every day's an excuse, but Cloudflare going down was an absolute disaster. Let's do it this way. I do want to take questions. Yesterday, we took a lot of questions. The biggest issue that I see out there, and I wasn't really paying attention to it, someone brought to my attention. I really think, and I do think it's really important to get, is what's going on in the real estate market. I do think that that's something that we should look at. I want to be Captain Obvious for a second. Okay. Here's the S&P. And I think that this is the best place for us to start. So, that's your first close under the 55. So I can talk about call walls and put walls and this wall and that wall, all we want, right? So what we're getting here and what you're going to see today is you're going to see an absolute disaster, in my opinion, at least off the open. And then we're going to have to go from there. But what I tend to do is I'm a student of history. So I just want to show you this. That's a close under the 55. So when we go and look at the market, we have to go and say, I closed under the 55. What happened? Winning and liberation. All right. I closed under the 55. We still had 2-3 days of more pain. Under the 55, 3 to 5 days of more pain. Under the 55, right? Kind of screwed around, but then back over it. Under, what happened, right? We had a bunch of pain. Under, more pain. Where I'm going with this is historically when you start rolling on that 55, now the 55 is pointing up, which is good. But when you break that 55, it's usually historically not a one-time event. It's not one day. Now, I'm just pointing things out. It's not one day. And that doesn't mean that I can't be under here for 3 to 5 days and rally. But what I'm suggesting is that it's usually, in all these cases that I'm pointing out, it is extremely rare for it to be one day and you not to have some kind of follow through. So I would just suggest that you understand that what the historical mean is for this and plan accordingly today. And I think that that's the biggest thing that you have to focus on this morning. When we get into the other stuff like the SPY, which we'll jump right into, we can see that we're closing it below it here too. There's no other way to say that except that, we are under that level. And then we just have to respect that we're under that level. Now, from there, and then we'll go from here. So, in regards to this, if you're in the community, just FYI, Cloudflare is down. So that means no emails this morning. The emails that you're expecting, all that stuff, all your emails, all your contact stuff, it's all gone. We use Constant Contact and they're completely, utterly just shut down. It's a disaster. So we we'll have to see how this goes. But if we watch that 660 level right in here, that's where you're holding. That's your put wall. And you're trying your butt to hold that today. And I don't know that you're going to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean all this off. We're going to go to the SPY. And then what I'm going to do is open this up to a 5. And I just want to show you it so that you can see what's going on this morning, because I think it's super important. And you can see that level. And you're holding it. Now, if I go to this on a bear, and I'll double check it because I did this morning already, but I'm always interested in just seeing if anything's changed. And it really hasn't. That's a real issue here. So, you have the VIX expiration tomorrow, but, you need to hold here. Now, you've been holding that level, and you've been holding it for some time. And what I like, candidly, about all of this today is that you've undercut something, for God's sake, finally. So we did undercut that. So that's really what we're looking for, some kind of undercut. And we did get an undercut. And I do like the fact that we have, I'll say it again, an undercut. I would prefer to get rid of this one and get it over with. Maybe we don't have to. Maybe this is going to be enough. What I would suggest you do, and what I'm going to do is just show you those levels. And really, they're your big levels on the VWAP side that I still think you keep out there. But what we're going to do for the time being, since they're so far removed, is I'm just going to get rid of those. And I'm just going to show you one. So you see that pop up? So that would be the first real level that you'd have to concern yourself with. And if you got through that, that would be your first hurdle. So I tend to put alerts there. And I'm just really interested in the first one that I have to concern myself with, right? Any of these other levels, they're probably going to be a little bit higher like that, right? And they're more significant, but if I can't get through the first hurdle, it's kind of stupid to have all that stuff in there. So for today, I try to focus on what I need to focus on, which is I have to hold 660. So if you take one thing from today, just one thing, take the fact that we have to hold the 660. And if we don't hold that, you have a problem, a really big problem. Because that can get super ugly, and it can get ugly fast. And, Home Depot didn't do us any favors today. I'll tell you that right now. And, you're looking at this level pretty damn quick. Excuse my language, but, you're looking at 653 fast. If you are to look at this, you have a left head, right shoulder. So, as I had someone laughing yesterday, you have head and shoulders within head and shoulders. There's a major head and shoulders here. There's another head and shoulders right here. And then in here, if you look at it, there's another head and shoulders. So there's a lot of patterns here where they're ripping it up for retail and then dropping it on, retail's head. So I would love a great flush, get it over with, and just be cathartic. I don't know that that's what you're going to get, but you can screenshot this and save it and go from there. And that's where we're at. And that's kind of how I would look at it. So let me just drop this in. And we'll go from there. So The next thing is, let's do it with the ES2 and go to that and go to this. I mean, it's really very similar. I'm going to leave all this here because I want to, but you're really at that 67.37 level, and I have these, so I want to look at them. 6669. Yeah, you got to get up there. You have to get over 6669, and if you break 6500, that's a problem. Give me 1 second, guys. You don't want to stay here. You have a problem here. Give me 1 second, please. You got to watch this today. You really need to get above this and stay above that level, or you're going to have net sellers on the day. Right there. You have to stay above that, or you're going to have net sellers on the day. Okay, let me mark that off there for those that have access to it. Give me 1 second to go through something else here. Let's go through the NQ real quick, and I can give you a level there. That's another suck salad. So let's just mark these off so that we're on the same page. Right there. Give me a sec. I'll find it. I think it's that right there. Okay. You want to watch that level big time. And you still have net sellers there. So you still have pressure. Got a lot of pressure there. And give me 1 second here. If you break, and it doesn't look like you're anywhere near it, but the next level's down here. That would be an issue. And I'd put an alert there. But if you are below that, you have a problem. And so you have a problem. And it's probably going to tie directly in with this, but let's just see where it is. It's probably that one. Yep, it's that one. So you got to watch this, and that means that you definitely don't want to break this at all. So let me just drop that to that. That's where it's supposed to be, and put an alert there too in case we do break it. And if we break this, I want to know too. So I think you're really wedged in here, guys, like really wedged in. And let's go back to this for 1 sec. And I think it's a whole trade, guys. Like you can see them: left shoulder, head, right shoulder, head and shoulders. And then here's another head and shoulders inside that head and shoulders, which is inside that head and shoulders. Like it's kind of crazy, but it's the same pattern repeating over and over again. And I'm a pattern trader, so I have to pay attention to it. Yep. And that's going to take you. You are out. You're out of the range. So, that's how I see the world right there. And I think that's how you have to see it too. So, that's really how I see it. Crap. That's not what I was expecting this morning. I was expecting that to hold a little bit better, but this is really troublesome to me. If you're not going to door long enough, man, eventually it opens. The problem here for the market makers is I don't think I've seen so much. I truly don't think if you break 600, you're hosed. Like if you truly break it, not just get washed out by it, but truly break it, you're absolutely hosed. you've been hitting it and bouncing hard, right? You see that, right? You got to make sure that that happens again. If that doesn't, it's a problem. It's a real problem. So let's keep our eye on that. I'm going to go through all this stuff for you guys. I just want to throw some things out there. If you're on the list and you're trying to get in, the last letter went out yesterday, so go and grab it. But the whole wait list starts again January 26th. So we're shut down. If you didn't get a letter, I would check, because I pretty much made sure I got everybody out, because prices are going to wind up doubling. But I made sure that everybody got an invite. So you should have gotten one, and we'll go from there. And I really think that you need to focus on that if you're interested in getting in, because it's going to, and then it's going to be even harder to get in. So just check, because that's it for 26 or 25. So, all right, let's go. It's really troubling, because there's literally billions in options there. And if it can hold, you can have a real nice bounce. But I don't know, man. You got a lot of pressure now, and some of the things that we're saying. The VIX, to me, told you everything yesterday. And, maybe they're going to rally us up later today. We're going to have to watch. But, yeah, you saw it with yesterday's close, and I'll just show this to you. So you see yesterday's close. See where you're at? So, you're going higher, and you're nowhere near the 17th. So people are like, well, that doesn't matter. It kind of does. Like, it kind of does matter. I think you're going to get to that level. The other thing that I would just throw out there is this, because I think it's important for people to know this, because a lot of people don't even know what the hell this is. Excuse my language. But Move is breaking out, right? And no, it's not just a ludicrous song. So what's happening here with like this breaking out, that means they're buying more bond insurance. Like, I didn't care when everyone's like, oh, the sky's falling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, boomers, Move's not going anywhere. Well, if you go and mark off from November on the increase, and you have to understand what Move is. Picture it like buying the VIX for bonds, right? It's insurance for the bond market. So you're at up 23% on insurance costs on the bond volatility estimate index in a month. Like, that's not great. Like, what else did that happen? Like, show me one other time that happened in 25. I can show you twice. Here, when we started Liberation and winning, and here when we maxed out on our Liberation and winning, right? That's when it happened. So we're making higher highs. When was the last time we made a higher high? Here. How'd that go? Good if you were short. So, just be nimble and understand you want this in your, I'm going to use this word because I don't get to use it. You want this in your repertoire. You want to keep watching this. Okay. It's definitely important. Certainly a thing that you want to watch and pay attention to, and then go from there. So keep that in mind. And I think that's really very important. So again, you guys might be having problems with your systems today because of net. And we'll get to some of these names in a moment. But I think the 34,000 view thing is way more important than what about this name? What about that name? Because when it comes in, man, they're not going to care. They're just going to sell everything. They're literally not going to give anything. They're going to take their year of returns, and they're just going to go home, take their toys and go home. So that's how I see it anyway, but you should do what you're comfortable with. Let's get through some of this. I really had some other stuff I wanted to go over, but let's do it this way because you guys will ask. Home Depot is a dumpster fire. Not only that, they're not buying generators. So, and that's why it's getting worse and worse and worse. I tend to wait on New York names until they open to short them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. And then I'm just going to kind of figure out where I'm going to go from there. But, your real first level is going to be that 350. And you're really going to want to watch that 350 level, right? Let me mark that off. Yay. You can see where it started to break right there. So 350 is going to be absolutely huge there. And you're probably going to want to watch that level, pretty carefully and see if you get up to there. Put a little alert right there. Ding, ding. and see if you can get through that 350, because you can see it battled right there. So I definitely think that that's definitely a problem for them, for sure. This market looks god awful. Lows will get hit on that because the honeydew list. You might get some kind of bounce out of that. It usually will close into, it'll rally up, usually rallies into the close because they don't want to stay short in case they're wrong. But lows usually takes it on the chin because of this. It's definitely worth watching that, but that's that 230 level, right in here. And you can kind of see where you're at already. Like that's major, major level, and you've already broken that. So we're just going to put that up here so you can see it. And you're going to give me this weird box that's too big. It's too much. There you go. Yay. And so now you kind of see how we're rolling over. Like you're not finding anything. I don't think you even have anything to about 220, and you already went through that. So you're really, 210 is pretty much a lock. I would watch it, but this usually takes it on the chin if Home Depot does, like big time. Like Home Depot is to Lowe's what Walmart is to Target, right? Like think about it that way. So you're probably coming all the way back down here, I think. Something happened in September. It scared the hell out of them because you can see it mid-September. Something scared the living heck out of these companies. And at the same time, man, it scared all these REITs at the same time. And I don't know what came out mid-September. I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at it, but something happened mid-September. And since then, all the REIT stuff, all the real estate stuff just took it hard, like really hard from here over. Like it never got above those levels. So I don't know. I have to go back through my notes and see what happened on September 15th because something happened. I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can, but I'm going to have to jump here and go through these. Fed speakers, I don't care. Johnson & Johnson, the XLP, what I would look at is like SQM makes sense. This makes a ton of sense. And I guess they're going on the earnings and what's happening there. But this deal that's going on out there with the US and minerals, once he got back in office, candidly, even though it's chilly, but when he got back in office, I really should have looked at this. This is probably not going to stop. And this probably makes a lot of sense to look at from a longer term perspective because of what's going on with the US and China, and they're going to get away from them. They're going to continue to try to get away from them as they cut deals. So 100%, I can totally see why you would be looking at this name. And I'm glad you brought it up. Johnson & Johnson to me, everyone, their sisters in it. I mean, they did a great thing. They spun out all the garbage and they kept Johnson & Johnson around. I'm not buying anything like that that's breaking out in an environment like that, because if the market reverses and this is up because of that, then that's why. I don't tend to buy the XLP when all this stuff starts breaking. Like I don't do well with that. It never really worked for me as a trading strategy. I just think I don't have the patience for it. And it doesn't really seem to be working, right? Like the Procter and Gamble's, like none of this stuff is working. And that's a concern. The other concern I have is gold. Like that's a top. That's a top, man. And so I think they're just doing risk off. Just get me out and go from there. And I don't think it matters what it is. They're just doing risk off. So I shorted this yesterday and it's not breaking anymore, which is super interesting considering what's going on out there. So we might have to look at you might want to start looking at the NAV there and see what we're getting. And take a look at that. But that stopped yesterday. I was short that, and because you brought it up, so I'm going to ride the wave because I think people are going to ask about it. When the market dropped, this stopped, and I think there's something to that. So I'm wondering, if this is finally washed out in the NAV. This other stuff, like what I would be doing with this thing, might be going long MSTR and shorting BMNR. Because really what you're doing is you're just going to book the spread, right, between the two, because one's still trading at a huge premium, one's probably at NAV. So that's going to get you what? That got you 15% in 4 days. So that probably continues, candidly. You know, the other thing is just short MSTY. BA, I wouldn't touch anything like that right now. I'm going to see if there's something here I really got to go over for time's sake, because I am going to have to jump. H-Care, VTR. Anything that is consistent and low vol probably does really well, dude. And I'm going to tell you, when you look at high beta compared to low vol, this is on record like one of the worst times in history. It really is. It's like one of the worst times in history for it. So, in like 40 years, it's crazy how bad it is. This kind of thing can 100% do what you think it's going to do, to be honest with you. People are going to look for stuff like this for places to park capital, dude. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to make sure I make a note of it, especially if you're doing that in this kind of environment. Still 1-2. That's crazy. I love AVGL. I don't know. I need to stand in front of that train right now ahead of NVIDIA. Same thing with NBIS. The only thing I would say about NBIS is it didn't go down yesterday. And I'd start looking for the names that did not drop yesterday. I think that's super important. Cloudflare is an issue. NVIDIA, I don't know what I would focus on. What's up, Tariq? You know, you gotta, yeah, I'm trying to get there, bro. What's up, Sam? Oh, you're welcome, Derek. Yeah, Cloudflare could be a what do you call it? A real issue. Like a real issue. Yeah, everyone kind of comes in no matter what. I think you at least have to get to the 10th. Trading view, bro. I just think that you just need to put yourself in a position here just to and just kind of hang more than anything. Like I really think that you're better off staying out of the way here. No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. None of my jokes are appreciated enough. I just think that the guy wants to be put into a position where he gets to buy the company for $19. And I don't know how long he's going to be able to play that game. AMD's got some problems. PMTR's got some problem. Fed is probably going to cut interest rates. I'm really worried more about the NAV, because if I can trade it at a discount, I'll buy it. Like GBTC at one point, we were buying 60 cents on the dollar. So guys, I got to jump. I got to hop in the room. Trade to win today. Make good choices. There's a lot going on today. Watch those key levels.